Hello, my name is Dan Johnson, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the latest Big Finish box set, which is entitled Planet Krynoid, and the subtitle for this set is called Nightfall. This doesn't happen very often, but the CD has arrived before I actually filmed the review. So I now have the box set in hand, and for most sets, I do actually buy the CD. The idea behind this brand new range is that the Krynoids from the Seeds of Doom, that hugely popular story, are taking over this little colony called Sunlight. And some pods have been taken out of space and brought to this colony. And as you can imagine, all hell is about to break loose. This set has been described as Doctor Who's answer to The Walking Dead or The Last of Us, a sort of apocalypse story. And it really, really feels like that. I do think, though, that apocalypse stories like The Walking Dead have become a bit of a dying breed. But I really did enjoy this set. It has all of the characteristics of a really good outbreak story. There's plenty of time for setup, and this is really like part one or like a prologue to what could be a larger story against the Krynoids. So the first two parts are really developing this new world, and I did find it slightly overwhelming with the amount of characters that we did have. I latched onto a couple of stories and a couple of characters. I mean, Reece Shearsmith is absolutely brilliant. The behind the scenes described him as a bit of a coward, and I find that that made him quite a layered character, because you had these decisions coming towards him because he's the leader of this group, that he had to make these decisions, and he was actually quite hypocritical in those decisions. And I really enjoyed the way that they sort of had him jump over those sort of hurdles and try to benefit himself the best way he could. I thought that made him a really interesting character. And of course, because he's played by someone like Reece Shearsmith, who was absolutely brilliant in so many things, that this has just worked so well. But going back to the massive character roster, on a second listen, I did then understand more about the geography of where these characters start and where they end. And I was able to pick apart their stories a bit better than I did the first time. I think you've really got to pay attention to where these people are and get invested in it and who they are and be able to distinguish between everyone. I mean, there's a daughter who is the daughter of Reece Shearsmith's character, and I felt like she was about like 6 or something like that by the way that she spoke. But then towards the end, I think, oh, actually, I should have aged her up in my own like approximation, because the entire time I imagine her running around as like a little 6-year-old, and then in the final part, she's acting more like a preteen on her way towards like a teenager, so maybe 11 or 12. And by getting invested and getting interested in where these characters are, I found the devastation of Sunlight to be an absolute treat. The final episode has some really horrific moments in terms of sort of like body horror, in terms of families being torn apart. It is like a scene in The Walking Dead or something like that, where they introduce people and just kill them immediately. And I think these little sort of sub stories are what this box set can do so well. And it's been really nice to sort of make the Krynoids like the real threat. But having a story that's very Doctor Light makes them be able to do all sorts of things that they wouldn't be able to do if like Paul McGann was running around. Because Paul McGann is running around, and I really enjoyed the refreshing take that they had with his character in this story. Because he's not there to be, the behind the scenes says that you can come in and save the day immediately. He's not really there for that. He has a different plot going on, a different objective, and I found it really refreshing that the Doctor sort of pops in for a bit and then leaves. When I listened to the final episode, I think I was painting fences, and it did occur to me at one point that the images I'm currently producing in my head while people can see me, if they could hear what I was listening to, they would think I'd be like a little bit insane, a little bit sadistic. But I was having a blast. And with that, let's wrap it up. Was I satisfied by this release? And yeah, I think I was. I think this is probably the start of something. This is something that I think will be like a continuous range with Big Finishes, that they're going to sort of go into different avenues with this world. And I'm all for that. I think that in a world that we live in now, with a lot of apocalypse, sort of zombie apocalypse like media, I think it's probably a dying breed anyway. I think that things like The Walking Dead, I mean, that's fallen off since the show ended. Not many people have spoken about the spin-off shows that they did and stuff like that. But in the world of Doctor Who, you can definitely do some more interesting stuff because you can involve time travel. You can do some really fascinating stuff with the idea and making it, you know, no longer be restricted to just one planet. And I think that could be really interesting. But I'm always up for something that is going to surprise me. And that's something that comes with a lot of this sort of stuff, is that no one's safe ever. And I think with Doctor Who, there's a lot of timelines and there's a lot of security for companions, etc. And with a story like this, anything can really happen. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give a like, subscribe. If you're new, if you'd like, you can go back and watch my review of the most recent episode of Doctor Who, The Robot Revolution, as well as coming back on Saturday, because on Saturday I shall be reviewing the next episode in the series, which is called Looks. I have a few more big finish releases. I think they're next month now. But until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.